Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Nope. The answer is no.
The answer is no.
The answer is no. I'm practicing my boundaries.
Oh, okay. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm getting better at it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Yeah, your boundaries. How to put up the blocks, how to save and carve more time for yourself, which will help you feel healthier and less stressed out. And she helps a lot of people with dealing with stress, especially women. And she's the founder and CEO of the Health Education Resources Network. Dr. Melissa Oden is back with us. How are you today, Melissa?
I'm okay.
We had a couple of tech issues before we jumped in.
We did.
Yeah.
For this not techie person, that was very disturbing.
That was your camera putting up boundaries and saying no.
It most certainly was. My camera was like, I am not cooperating with you today.
We coerced.
Oh my goodness.
And we'll give it a treat later or whatever we have to do.
Whatever.
Yes. Well, it's great to have you back. Great to have you on.
Thank you.
And the boundaries, so important, but a lot of us don't know how to navigate around those, right?
Yeah. And you know what, to be honest, this is not like it's not the sexiest topic on the planet, but when you really start to dig down into what boundaries are and why they're important, it doesn't need to be sexy to be important, right? So yeah, boundaries are one of those things that people sometimes don't really think about, but can really have a huge impact on their stress levels and how they handle that stress and what kind of stress they allow into their lives.
Why do you think a lot of us can't say no or can't put up boundaries, and we just keep saying, yeah, okay, I'll take care of that for you. I'll do that. I got that. Your kids say something. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then you find yourself all stressed out.
A couple of reasons in particular, and I am not pointing fingers at anyone because I am pointing all of them right back at myself. So I kind of speak from a personal place here too. I think part of it is just that as women, in particular, as a woman, we've been taught to take care of everyone but ourselves. And we have been taught that, if you really, especially as a Southern belle, I live in Texas, I grew up in Texas. So as a Southern belle, I was taught, nice girls always, help other people, right? It's a helping thing. And I think that's where we get confused, right? As we mentioned the last time, no is a complete sentence. And it doesn't have to be in a rude fashion. It's a way to help you navigate the things that you need to navigate through to be able to handle your stress. And so that's thing number one. I think as women, we're taught that we should help everyone before we even think about helping ourselves. But I think number two is probably, I don't want to say a little more sinister, but maybe a little more sinister. And that is that we want to be liked and wanted and appreciated by other people. So the more that we can take on and the more that we can put ourselves out there and the more we can say, look what we did, whether it's good or not is not the point. But I think we sometimes do it for selfish reasons too, right? Just to be validated. And everyone wants to be validated. I mean, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, somewhere on there, not at the bottom, but somewhere on there closer to the top, is this issue of being loved and wanted and to be known and to know and to be understood and to understand. And so I think that has a lot to do with it, is that we want to be validated. And I think sometimes the best way to do that is just to say yes to everything. And what we find is that when we say yes to everything, we're not good at anything.
It's so true. And everybody wants to be needed. So that's just that mentality of, they need me, they need me, they need me. I don't have any time left for myself, but hey, I'm needed. And like you said, you just spread yourself thin and
way too thin. Mm-hmm.
And is it a quality job or a quality effort that you're putting into the tasks? Probably not.
No, it's not. And as we talked about previously, when you don't have a good weekly plan in place, that's kind of when you find yourself in trouble. Because if you know what your week looks like and that's a boundary, right? I mean, what we talked about last time, it was absolutely in the realm of setting boundaries in terms of your schedule. We only have so much time and we all have the same amount of time. And the one thing we can't create is more time. So that time is a boundary. And so when you're trying to cram more, and listen, I am totally guilty of this. As entrepreneurs, as an entrepreneur, I try to cram way more into my day than is humanly possible. And that's because when you have to keep a roof over your head, it's really important that you get the work done. But unfortunately, I don't have the superpower of creating more time. So when I know what my time boundaries are, then I know what I can say yes and no to, which is also why knowing what your values are important. Because when you know what you value and you know what you have time for, you're going to schedule what's important to you first. In direct sales, there's a saying that says, when people are never too busy. What they're telling you is that people are going to choose what's most important to them to schedule. And that is absolutely hands down the case. So if someone doesn't want to schedule a show with you or doesn't want to do one thing or another, it's because it's not that they don't value you. It's just that they have a different value set on their time, right? So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. If you can look at it that way as a salesperson, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at here is, what's your time? What do you value? And then where are you going to place those boundaries on that time so that you can get done what you really need and want to get done?
It's often a challenge to prioritize too in those requests that keep coming in. Obviously your family is at the top of the stack, but then there's some issues with that too. Is this more important than that? Or let's say a friend needs help moving. They have nobody, they need help, but your kid wants to go to the store and buy this new toy or whatever it might be.
Right.
It's the stacking order, I think, is a challenge for a lot of us.
Yeah, it is. And again, that's where this is where the back end work has to happen, right? This is where you have to identify those values. This is where you have to identify what's going to happen in your schedule every week. That's where you have to identify what is most important to me in my life. In ULA, we actually help people set like an ULA 1 goal. That is the one thing that if nothing else got done this next year, what would that one thing be that would completely change your life? And when you start to look at it in those terms, those decisions start to become easier. Now, look, for most of us, family is the most important thing, right? I think I mentioned before that my dad had a heart attack this last year in May of this year. And, if family was not a priority for me, when that happened, I would have said, sorry, I've got other things going on over here and I can't be there for you. But that wasn't the case, man. I dropped everything and I spent almost 6 weeks in and out of the office just so I could be with him and help my mom take care of him, because family is the most important thing to me. So when you're faced with decisions like that, I believe that you begin to understand what your values really are, what your governing values really are. And, when you come face to face with those things, it can be really hard sometimes if you think it's one thing, but it ends up being another, because what we act on is really what our values are. What we say we believe and what we act on should be in alignment. And when it's not, that's a problem. That's a problem.
I'm thinking about that a little bit deeper. What we say we believe in and what we actually do. So does that come back to we need to really define our values, even if you got to take an old-fashioned pen and a piece of paper and write them down, what they are?
Yes. Yeah. And actually, my Women in Stress course that is going to debut next week, I'm so excited. There's a whole module around defining your governing values. And I take the ladies through an exercise that helps them define what their governing values are so that they know what they are. And with the new year coming up, this is a really good time for folks to kind of stop and take a look at those things and, begin the year afresh. Having their governing values figured out and what it is that they want to accomplish for the next year. For me, it's not ever about resolutions because those never work out. It's always about goals. And where are you starting January 1st and what do you want to accomplish by December the 31st? And, boundaries are an important part of that conversation. What are you going to set those boundaries around your time, your emotional energy, your physical energy? In fact, there are 4 different types of boundaries that we can talk about that might help folks. One of them is physical, one of them is material, one of them is time, and then the 4th one is internal. And there's some questions that you can ask yourself underneath each one of those to determine kind of where you sit with those particular types of boundaries.
I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Okay.
When was the last time you said yes when you should have said no?
Maybe last week. Oh gosh, it's hard. I've got a lot going on. There are a lot of things that are important in my life, and I have I have probably for too long juggled too many things. But yeah, probably not too long ago, to be honest. You know, I don't know how many of the listeners out there are involved in many things, but in the public health world, the world that I mostly live in, we have a joke that, you know, every time a new project comes up or every time something happens in our county and we need people to go and work that issue or problem, we end up with the same table of suspects. We call them suspects. We end up with the same number of suspects around the table who want to do the work. And so those of us who are fully engaged in our communities and what we're doing, we end up taking on a lot because no one else is. And I think we feel like that if we don't do it, no one will.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a difficult proposition. So I do want to say, you know, I'm not saying that this issue of boundaries is an easy one to solve. But what I do want to do is just bring some awareness to folks about where they're spending their time and what they feel like is important to them, and to remind them that they have the power to change that. And I'm saying that to me, and I'm saying that to you. You know, I have the power to change whatever I need to change. And, you know, one of the things that I'm working on right now is with an association that I am with. And I'm beginning to realize that there are some people around me who are starting to pick up the baton. Even though I have started a particular initiative, there are some folks around me who I'm realizing are perfectly capable of picking up this particular issue and running with it. And so it may be time for me to step back and say, you know what? I think you can handle this now. And, you know, I may be able to remove that from my plate sooner rather than later. But those are the types of things that I think you have to be aware of.
In this situation, and we'll move on, but I'm just kind of curious, if you were to pass the wand, the baton, whatever, to them, would they say yes?
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so. You know, in this particular group of folks that I'm thinking of, we've got some new folks that have stepped up to the plate to start to do some things, and it makes it a little bit easier when you have some fresh blood in there to kind of help pick up some of the things that have been maybe put down, or we've just been kind of dragging along behind us because we didn't have anybody else to help us. But you know, but I think the more important question is that if they were to pick it up, would I be able to let it go permanently?
I was just going to get to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And so what we're talking here is a lot of times it's the control issue and the perfectionism issue that may be within us, why we don't want to give that up, right?
Ouch.
I'm your mirror right over here.
Stepping on my toes. Yes, that is 100% the case. And it's also, you know, especially if it's something that you've started and it's kind of your baby, you know, you kind of want to protect that, and you kind of want to make sure that is carried out appropriately, whatever that means to that particular situation. So yeah, I mean, I think giving up control is very hard. I mean, yes, it is hard for me. And I know for a lot of the women that I work with, it's very hard for them as well. You know, that old saying, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. We have internalized that, haven't we? We have absolutely internalized that.
Well, yours is a unique situation because it's also your pride and integrity, you know, this baby, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. And there's others on board, and now you're going to pass it off to somebody else, but you'll always be in the mix though. It's not like you're just, you know, kind of throwing the ball and then you're running off and playing on another team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's not that I would just give it up and disappear. Sure. It would just be an issue of trusting that, you know, you've gotten it to a specific point where it is okay to hand that off, and that you've got other people that can take it and run with it. And sometimes I think what we forget too is that, you know, you can only go so far by yourself. It really does take a village to do just about anything in this life. And, you know, you have certain ideas and things that you feel like should be in place, but, you know, sometimes something magical happens when you hand that stuff off, and those folks that take it have what it takes to get that to the next level that you would have never done by yourself. And so it ends up being more of a success than if you had just kept it. So, but I think that comes with experience. I think that comes with maturity. And I think that comes with just a lot of trust that things are going to turn out the way that they're supposed to.
Reminds me the Disney movie Frozen. I don't know if you remember the pinnacle song. It's 3 words. Let it go. Let it go. sometimes you just gotta let it go.
And by the way, the cold has always bothered me, so I don't know what she was talking about.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Cold has always bothered me, but yeah, absolutely. I think that is the point of being able to manage that stress, to be able to just let it go and trust that trust the process, right? Trust that the process is going to take that to its conclusion, whatever that is, and that whatever that is, you have to be okay with that.
When it comes to those boundaries, do you think there's a lot of guilt involved in that too?
Oh yeah.
If we don't do it, we feel guilty, especially family connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Family has a way of doing that sometimes. But there's probably some deeper issues there to begin with. But yeah, and not just family, but friends, church folks, whoever your village is. I think a lot of people, and I think that's a sign of them not having good boundaries. If you say that complete sentence, which is no, and somebody pushes back on that, that means that that's about them. That's not about you, right? Because if you have good, healthy boundaries and you have set those, then you should be able to say no, and an adult should be able to respect that and not push back on that. So I always remind people to keep that in mind, that when people push back on you for holding your, and people will, make no mistake about it. When you start making changes in your life, the people who aren't willing to do that are not going to come along with you, and in fact may fight you tooth and nail to keep you from doing it because they want to stay where they're at. That's fine if they want to do that, but you need to be prepared to be courageous and move on and make the changes that you need to make, and set those new boundaries if you need to set them.
And those people should realize that you're saying no for a reason. It's not just a flippant, oh, no, you've thought about it.
Yeah.
So that being said, Melissa, what are some ways that we can say no to make it easier?
No.
I don't know if I can do that.
You know what? I don't know that saying no is ever easy. Let's just debunk that myth right now. I don't know that saying no is ever easy, unless you're just the type of person that doesn't really mind what other people think about you. Now, I'm a Pisces, so I am very, I live in this ethereal world sometimes, and I'm I'm an empath, so I'm very emotional, I'm very creative. So it's hard for me to say no. And I'll just tell you up front, it pains me sometimes to say no. So I am one of those people that has to really think about it before I say no, because it does hurt. But there are some people who that just doesn't bother them at all. And if you're one of those folks, this conversation is probably like, I have no idea what you're talking about, because
speaking a foreign language.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, because it's easy for me to say no. And if that is you, God bless you, because I am not that person.
I need to come up with a way, like it'll marinate in my mind before I say no. How am I going to couch this? How am I going to position this? Do I say, I'd really love to help you out, but I can't? Is that okay? Do you have to give an excuse? I'd really love to help you out, but I'm doing something that weekend and I can't. That's where I'm going with that. Ways to temper the no so it feels better for both parties.
Yeah, I think the shortest answer is the best, right? Because if you start going to a diatribe about why you can't do something, it just opens up a Pandora's box of stuff that you probably don't want to deal with. So my advice always is the shorter, the better. If you can say no quickly and nicely, right, and appropriately, then there should be no problem there.
Well, to your point, people remember how you said it more than what you said. So if you deliver it in a heartfelt way that you care, but you just can't, they'll feel the emotion and then it'll be okay.
Yes. And I've had to say no a couple of times this last week. I'm so proud of myself. I did actually say no a couple of times this last week when I wanted to say yes, but I really didn't. And so I think the way you say it, and if you're just honest and nice about it, then again, it's really not about how that person receives it. I think you can sleep well at night knowing that you were kind and respectful and said your piece.
We were talking before about the song from Frozen. I got another song, came out in the 70s, and it's by Beatle, Ringo Starr. It was actually a top 5 hit. called the No Song. It's actually a song. I'm not kidding. And it's basically about people asking him to do stuff. Some of them like come out and drink with me all night. And some of the lyrics are, no, 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 I don't do that no more. I'm tired of waking up on the floor. But there it is, the No Song. There's a song.
Somehow I missed that.
I'm a wealth of useless information, especially when it comes to music. It just pops in my head. Yeah.
My friends would probably tell you the same thing about me, but what year was that?
Now you're pushing it, but I'm going to say probably 1974-ish.
Okay, so I was 4, so I was probably unaware.
Yeah, but I've been a DJ since I was 17, so every song I know.
There you go.
Didn't know where it was, but it was called the No Song.
That is funny.
This is part of the course that you're rolling out in about a week from now, right? Tell us about it. We talked about it, but it's time for the baby to be born.
Yes, it probably won't be Monday. I'm still having my learning management system folks help fix some stuff in there, so it'll probably be someday next week, but it'll be before Friday. So that announcement will go up on all my social, on my webpage. You'll see all of that. But I'm super excited about it. I got through filming last week, and there's just some good stuff in there that I think women will be able to take away and use. I wanted it to be practical. They need to be able to use this stuff right now. And so even though it's broken up into 4 modules, and there are several lessons under each module, there are some worksheets in there. There's some templates and some things in there that they can take away from and work on those things themselves on their own time, and really begin to kind of work through this themselves. And I think that's part of the advantage of doing online courses, is that you can do it at your pace, at midnight in your pajamas if you want to, and nobody has to see you or hear anything that you're saying. Although I will say, when I beta tested this course live last year, part of the magic was in those women's discussions. But I'm looking at some live coaching that'll come up next year, or probably in January, and some things like that. So the women that sign up for this course will have some access to that live coaching from me. So super excited about that too.
And you can go at your own pace?
Yes. Yes. As it stands right now, the modules are going to drip out 1 a week. So there's 4. So over a 4-week period of time, you'll get 1 module a week. And I find that, and the industry finds that it's probably easier for women to digest just a little bit at a time, as opposed to being overwhelmed. And we have the holidays coming up.
Yeah.
So people are probably not wanting to try and speed through a whole course anyway. So, and when they purchase it, they do have it for life. So it's not like it's going to go away.
Yeah. And this is not like Netflix, people, where everything is released. One season is, 10 episodes, right? Take your time. But it's something you shouldn't say no to, because it could be a game changer within your life to move your life forward. And again, one of the modules is about boundaries, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
website.
Yeah, very excited about that whole course. I think it's gonna help a lot of women.
Tell everybody your website.
It is drmelissaoden.com. And if you go today or tomorrow to drmelissaoden.com/early bird, I think it is, you can actually get the early bird special for that course. But after November the 30th, it goes up to regular price. So you probably want to slip on in there in the next couple of days.
How can you say no?
I don't know.
No.
It's an investment in you, and it's not a huge investment, but it is an investment in you. And if you need some help, I did these videos more from a coaching style than anything else. And so, I'd like to think that it's going to be 4 weeks of coaching for you, that ladies, that you'll be able to take advantage of and have for life, once you purchase the course. It's never, and you'll get the updates as they happen, things like that. So
this sounds like it's totally in line with so many women that I talk to who are in their 30s, many in their 40s, and also in their 50s, that are having challenges in life and don't know how to navigate it. And this sounds like it's perfectly in line with that.
Yeah, and I hope so. That was my intention. And what I have found is that where I come from in this course, the place that I'm coming from is a place where I was taught all of these things. And what I'm learning by talking to other women is that for whatever reason, the generations behind me weren't taught these things. And so I think that's why they're struggling a little bit. Yep. So let's get in there. Let's learn together. I'm happy. I'm just honored to be the coach through this process. And let's set some boundaries. Let's set some healthy boundaries.
Let's learn together.
Let's learn together. Yeah.
drmelissaoden.com, ODEN. Always great having you on with us.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your patience today. Thank you to the tech world for helping us out here.
We made it. We did it.
We made it.
Up next time. Thanks a lot.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.